that quiet, that absolute stillness, like right before dawn breaks?
Mm-hmm. When everything just seems paused.
Exactly. And you almost feel you can sense, I don't know, something else out there.
Yeah, like a whisper.
That feeling, that sort of whisper of something unseen, well, that's exactly what we're diving into today.
I've got some really interesting material.
We do. We're bringing together two quite different sources for you. The very personal diary entries of a shaman in The Shaman and the Tiger.
And also this more narrative dialogue piece, Whisper of the Ether.
Right. And our goal here, our mission, if you like, is to try and understand the real core of mystical experience, but specifically from the shaman's point of view, using these sources.
And what's fascinating is how both, in their own styles, seem to give us this window into a reality maybe perceived beyond our usual senses. So for you listening, maybe you're deep into exploring this stuff already, or maybe you're just curious, maybe even a bit skeptical.
Or coming at it from a science angle, perhaps.
Exactly. We really think this deep dive might offer some, well, surprising connections. We want to keep it grounded, not too abstract.
Okay, let's jump right in then. The shaman's first encounters. Both sources talk about this really profound feeling, right? Being touched by something powerful.
Yeah, this presence of God or Great Spirit concept comes up. It's described as a definite contact.
It wasn't just like lightning striking, was it? It sounds like there was more to it from the shaman's side.
Not passive at all. The Shaman and the Tiger really emphasizes this idea of a passage of honor.
Honor? How so?
It means it wasn't about the shaman demanding the experience or trying to force it. It was about approaching with deep respect, with reverence. The text actually points out that people driven by ego and, those maybe wanting to become gods themselves, they often just miss it.
So it's blocked.
It suggests that, it implies this fundamental humility is needed.
Right.
It's less about grasping and more about maybe being granted access through that respect.
That's quite a different take than just wanting something really badly. It's about the inner state. The approach.
Precisely. A really key distinction.
Okay, so after that initial contact, that feeling of presence, the shaman then starts exploring ether, these surrounding energy fields.
Yeah, ether becomes a really central concept. It seems like a major part of their self-discovery journey.
And they come to a conclusion about it.
A pretty firm one. The shaman basically says ether is really the fifth element.
The fifth element. Okay, that sounds familiar.
It totally echoes Aristotle, right?
Yeah.
His idea of ether as this celestial thing beyond the usual earth, air, fire, water.
So not just physical stuff, but this other layer.
Exactly. It suggests this pervasive, subtle energy isn't just some weird idea, but maybe a fundamental part of how reality works. It definitely pushes back against a purely material view.
And it wasn't just ancient Greeks thinking about this either. You mentioned scientists grappling with it too.
Oh yeah, the Shaman and the Tiger brings that up. People like James Clerk Maxwell, Isaac Newton. Giants of physics.
What were they thinking?
They were trying to figure out how light travels through what looks like empty space. They proposed this luminiferous ether as the medium carrying light waves.
So like an invisible substance filling everything?
Kind of. Maxwell called it a material substance of a more subtle kind. Newton saw it as this active agent in the cosmos.
Huh. So even science had this idea of an unseen medium for a while.
Absolutely. Now, science moved on from that specific model, of course, but it's fascinating that they were asking similar questions about the fundamental fabric of reality, just using different tools than the shaman's direct experience.
But for the shaman, this ether isn't just theoretical, is it? It sounds much more personal, tangible, almost.
Very much so. They describe it very vividly as that specific physical space or energy field you can almost see or feel right before sunrise.
That moment we talked about.
Exactly. That tiny window before the full light hits, linked to how long it takes our eyes to adjust. It's such a grounded way to describe something that sounds so out there.
It really is. It connects this mystical idea to a physical sensory thing, like bridging inner and outer worlds.
Yeah, trying to anchor the experience. It shows this effort to connect their perceptions to the environment around them.
Okay, so exploring this ether, it wasn't always smooth sailing, right? The shaman talks about needing protection and these things called egregores.
That was a new one for me too when I first read it. The shaman describes them as these misty, sort of vapor-like forms.
What are they? Where do they come from?
According to the shaman, they're born of collective emotion and thought.
Collective, like from groups of people.
Exactly. They can be good or bad, apparently, and they originate from us, from humans. Think of them like energetic thought forms.
Zero.
They gain power, maybe even a kind of semi-independence through shared feelings, shared beliefs, that kind of intense group energy.
So our collective mood or beliefs can actually create these things in that subtle realm.
That's the idea presented, yes.
Yes.
Our whole mental and emotional landscape can sort of manifest energetically.
And the shaman had to learn to shield themselves from some of these, the negative ones.
Seems so. It suggests navigating this ether wasn't just about observing. It involved active interaction with other forces, some shaped by us.
It sounds like a real environment, just unseen by most of us. A landscape you have to learn to navigate safely.
Precisely. It implies these journeys into, let's call them non-ordinary states, aren't just passive visions. There's an interplay.
Okay, this leads into how the shaman connects this ether and energy in general to the great creator.
Right.
This feels really central to their whole understanding. God is uncreated energy.
Yeah, that's a core concept. The shaman's view is that ether fundamentally is energy.
Pure energy.
And this energy, this basic force, is tied directly to the great creator, the original intelligent source.
Right.
And then in a state of, well, respect and awareness, like we talked about earlier, this energy can manifest as the sun.
The sun, what does that represent?
It seems to represent a kind of focused potential, born from that place of reverence. It's a very personal, symbolic way of looking at creation and presence, like uncreated energy is the raw possibility.
And the sun is that potential starting to take form, intentionally.
That seems to be the idea, a specific, intended unfolding.
And this wasn't just theory for the shaman, right? It felt real, physically.
Definitely. It's tied to a sensation, a feeling in the heart, a sense of potential being birthed. They even describe seeing a tiger.
A tiger.
Yeah, this powerful symbol showing up, embodying that raw creative energy. It's very rich imagery, very personal.
So the sun is like that focused potential, and the tiger is the raw power behind it.
That's a good way to put it. And this potential, this energy, can then be influenced, shaped by individuals, and maybe, as the shaman suggests later, by bigger structures like religions.
Which brings us to something quite pointed, the shaman says, about humans not being divine and their critique of religious groups.
Right. They recount this really vivid experience of getting, quote, bumped out when their own ego tried to claim divinity.
Bumped out, like ejected.
Yeah. It's a strong image. It powerfully reinforces their belief that humans aren't God. There's a line you don't cross. That humility and respect we mentioned, it has to be maintained.
Like a reality check, a slap, as they put it.
Exactly. A visceral metaphor for overstepping.
And they don't pull any punches about organized religion either, suggesting they might even profit from martyrdom egregores and install alien concepts of God. That's pretty strong stuff.
It is a very direct critique. It reflects the shaman's worry that sometimes institutions can get in the way of that direct personal experience of the divine, whatever that means for the individual.
Putting layers between people and the source?
Perhaps. And that quote included from Rowney Kildee, God cannot be defined in man-made terms and simply is, that really resonates with the shaman's emphasis on unmediated individual connection.
Okay, so we have this rich experiential account from the shaman. Now, how can we maybe connect this to something? Well, something science might recognize. Both sources mention the biofield.
Ah, yes, the biofield. This is where things get potentially very interesting for bridging these perspectives.
So what is the biofield, scientifically speaking?
Well, the shaman and the tiger mentions how science monitors it using things like, let me get this right, MR-megs and NMR-megs, magnetic resonance techniques.
Sounds complicated. What do they measure?
Essentially, they detect the incredibly tiny magnetic fields produced by the electrical activity in our bodies.
Like brain waves.
Brain waves, yes, but also the heart's activity, other processes. It allows scientists to map these energy outputs.
So science is actually measuring a kind of energy field around us. That sounds a lot like the shaman's ether description, at least around individuals.
There's definitely a parallel, isn't there? The text notes that these monitoring techniques, sometimes developed for other medical reasons, also clearly picked up the distinct energetic signature of people.
A signature, like a unique energy pattern.
Suggests a real, measurable energy presence that goes beyond just the skin.
And what about biofield actuation, the idea of influencing this field?
Right. The text touches on using magnetic resonance energy transfer.
Yes.
Potentially using complex waves to influence brain rhythms, maybe even send information.
Wow. Okay, that sounds almost like interacting with the ether, but with technology.
It does hint at possibilities for subtle energetic interactions that science is just starting to explore. Could it parallel some of the shaman's experiences with the ether, maybe even those egregores? Speculative, but intriguing.
It really feels like two different paths pointing towards something similar. The shaman's direct feeling and sensing of this energetic world, and science starting to measure and maybe even interact with these subtle energies around us.
Exactly. And the heart's role in this, that adds another really compelling layer. The Heart Math Institute research mentioned in Science of the Heart.
Right, what did they find?
They identify the heart as the body's most powerful generator of electromagnetic energy. By far.
How powerful.
Get this. Its electrical field is about 60 times greater in amplitude than the brain's. 60 times.
Seriously? Wow, I always thought the brain was the main electrical powerhouse.
Me too, before reading this. And this heart field isn't tiny. It can be detected several feet away from the body with sensitive instruments.
And it changes.
Significantly. It's modulated by our emotional states. Feeling love, appreciation, calm, that creates a different signature than stress or anger.
Okay, so our feelings directly shape this energy field radiating from our heart.
Precisely. And their research suggests these heart signals can actually transmit information. They can affect the brain waves of other people nearby.
Wait, really? Like energetic communication?
That's what they call heart-brain synchronization. It suggests we're potentially influencing each other on this subtle energetic level all the time. We're immersed in this field.
That's incredible. So could this relate to the shaman's experiences, their sensitivity?
Well, HeartMath also found that when people are in a state of what they call psychophysiological coherence, basically inner balance, harmony between heart, mind, emotions.
Like a meditative state, maybe?
Could be similar, yeah. In that coherent state, people become more sensitive to picking up these subtle electromagnetic signals from others.
So maybe the shaman, through their practices, achieved a really high level of this coherence.
That's a fascinating possibility, isn't it? It could offer a kind of scientific lens on their heightened awareness. Maybe that coherence makes them more attuned to perceive these energetic realities they call ether.
So their inner state literally tunes them in better.
That's a powerful way to think about it. It suggests the shaman's practices might amplify their ability to sense and interact with these fields. The heart then becomes this crucial hub.
Both sending and receiving these energies?
Exactly. A key interface with this energetic environment the shaman is describing.
Okay, so let's try to pull these threads together. We have the shaman's very personal, direct experience, feeling the ether, encountering egregores, connecting with the Great Spirit, all described using energy.
Felt experience is key.
And then we have science looking at the biofield, measuring the heart's huge electromagnetic output, finding evidence for energetic communication and heightened sensitivity through coherence.
Right.
It really feels like, despite the different language, they might be describing aspects of the same underlying reality, doesn't it?
It certainly seems plausible. The potential overlap is striking. And what stands out across both sources is that consistent focus on the shaman's direct experience as the primary way of knowing this reality.
Yeah, that felt sense is paramount.
Absolutely. While the frameworks differ mystical versus scientific, both point to energy playing a fundamental role in, well, everything. Our existence, our connection to the world, maybe even to each other. The shaman's journey really highlights the power of that inner exploration.
So, for everyone listening, as you think about all this, the shaman's world, the science of the biofield, here's something to maybe ponder. Could your own biofield, especially that powerful energy coming from your heart, be your personal key? Your way to understand, maybe even feel your own connection to this ether, this bigger reality.
Like tapping into the shaman's journey, but in your own way.
Yeah. What parts of this whole exploration really resonated with you? What felt true or sparked curiosity? It's just a thought to carry with you, really. An invitation to maybe pay attention to those quieter whispers in your own experience.